Welcome back to Main Recaps.
Today I'm going to explain the movie Brothers of the Wind, released in the year 2015. At the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to a middle-aged man named Danzer. He is a forester in the mountain range of the Alps. He takes care of any wildlife that needs help in the mountains. Danzer tells us a story about a brave eagle and its friend. In the 1960s, in an undetermined place in the Alps, an eagle couple has 2 hatching eggs. According to Danzer, the parent eagles are the king and queen of their kind, so the offspring are the next in line to the throne. But since only one can be the next successor, the brothers are also rivals at birth. The father eagle, being the strongest of the others, has many enemies. As the parents are raising their eaglets, one day an enemy attacks them. In an ensuing fight, the father dies when he crashes to the ground. The mother knows that he will not return, so she starts to take care of her sons alone. Somewhere else in the mountain, Danzer finds the father eagle's body. Moments later, he also meets a hunter named Keller. Keller and his young son Lucas live in a tiny house in the mountains. The relationship between the father and the son is not ideal, as Lucas hasn't uttered a word to Keller since his mother's death. The boy misses his mother dearly, but his father fails to understand him and give him the love he deserves. Lucas goes to the remains of his old house, where he and his parents once used to live. Deprived of the required love and affection from his father, the boy has found salvation in looking at the old pictures of them as a happy family. Meanwhile, with the father eagle gone, the mother takes it upon herself to raise the successor. But since there can only be one of those, the brothers start to fight with each other as they grow older. The fights get more frequent when the mother flies away to get them food. Most of the time, the older brother wins against the younger one. A few weeks later, when they have grown a little older, they get into one of such fights which causes the younger one to fall off the cliff and land on the grass hundreds of feet below. He is injured, weak, and hasn't learned to fly yet, so he waits for help from his mother. When she returns in the evening, she hears him but ignores the eaglet's cry for help. Without the father, she can only raise and protect one offspring, so she chooses the fittest one. The poor youngest one fights with the ants and wild foxes, and someone survives the night. It is evident that he cannot survive for long on his own yet. Just then, Lucas finds the eagle and brings him to his secret hideout at his old home. He takes care of the poor creature and makes him a nest by cutting a pillow in half. Lucas has decided to nurture the eagle to health, but has no idea how to take care of a bird. He tries to feed him bread, but soon realizes that it won't work. He keeps the bird warm with his vest and runs home to get him food. He waits for his father to fall asleep and steals some of his lunch. He is delighted when the eagle finally eats the stolen sausage. In only a day, the two become best friends. Danzer sees them play together in the field and decides to help Lucas train the bird. The following day, Lucas collects hay from the forest and builds a nest for his friend. He even collects worms for the bird, but it refuses to eat them. Danzer arrives at the house and tells him that sausages and worms are not healthy for eagles. Instead, he gives him a duck liver. The bird happily eats the flesh as Danzer had predicted. He also advises Lucas to bring him outside so he can get plenty of sunlight, which will help his feathers to grow. That day, Lucas is working with his father. Keller tries to communicate with Lucas, but he doesn't speak a word. Annoyed, he forces the kid to work harder and stops him from going outside. At night, a fox sneaks into Keller's farm and kills all the hens. He angrily chases Lucas because he left the door to the farm open. Lucas, on the other hand, brings one of the hens and runs to the old house to feed it to the eagle. He chases away the foxes that are attacking the bird and spends the rest of the night playing with it. As Lucas reads his family's Bible, he comes across the story of 2 brothers named Cain and Abel. Since the story sounds a lot like the eagle's story, he names it Abel. As Lucas takes care of Abel, his brother Cain is being trained by his mother to rule the mountains. Lucas also tries to teach Abel to fly, but because of his lack of knowledge, he fails. While he is trying to train the bird one day, Danzer arrives and invites him to go live with him during the summer. He offers to teach Lucas how to train Abel and even gets permission from Keller about the matter. On being taken to the forester's cabin, Lucas sees a portrait of a young boy and an eagle that looks awfully like him and Abel. The following day, in an attempt to teach Abel to hunt, He catches a fish and hands it to him. However, Abel lets it slip away. Some days later, both Abel and his brother Cain grow their new pair of wings. Before Abel, his brother learns to fly with the help of his mother. Lucas tries to train Abel to fly. He hangs him in a nest-like bucket from the roof, but it is not successful at first. Eventually, the bird starts to soar in the air. That night, they both fall asleep on the roof of the old house, but when Lucas wakes up the next morning, Abel is missing. He gets worried and starts to look around when he notices Abel flying in the sky. At first, he is overjoyed at the sight, but when Abel perches on top of a rock and Lucas tries to reach him, Abel flies away. Lucas now believes that his only friend will never return now that he has learned to fly. He finds a feather on the ground and keeps it as a memoir. Danzer tries to comfort Lucas, but he too doesn't really know if the bird will ever return. Meanwhile, out in the wild, Abel tries to hunt a chamois. The ensuing fight injures him, but at last he fails. Life is not easy for him, as he has to save himself from Keller's shotgun and his own brother, who is now a great hunter. For the next few days, Lucas searches for Abel tirelessly. Just when he is about to give up, the bird finally returns. This teaches Lucas to never lose hope. He places Abel's feather on a shrine of stones and returns home with him. Following that, Danzer offers to help Lucas to teach Abel to hunt. He and Abel are preparing for training when Keller approaches them. At the sight of his father, Lucas runs away. Keller complains of Danzer's methods and reminds him that Lucas is his child at the end of the day. Later, Danzer and Lucas teach Abel to be a fast hunter with a makeshift method. After failing the first few tries, the smart bird finally gets a hang of it and makes its first kill. Although they are doing pretty good with the training, Danzer tells Lucas that Abel will have to leave someday. At the end of the day, he is a wild animal and will have to return to the wild. A few days later, the two take Abel to the highest part of the mountain. Lucas bids farewell to Abel and ties a tiny bracelet to his feet. Eventually, the bird flies away. When winter arrives, things get tougher for Abel. He tries to hunt rabbits, but the snow and the cold weather make it almost impossible. After a lot of struggle, he kills an animal by drowning it in the river. With time, he eventually learns to hunt for himself. Meanwhile, Lucas has not forgotten about his friend with feathers. He thinks of Abel every day. His father lays out bear traps for the wild animals, which he removes in order to save them. One day, he goes to the shrine that he made with Abel's feather and falls asleep in the snow thinking of him. He wakes up some hours later to see a wolf very close to him. The kid panics and runs away, but on his way, he accidentally steps on a bear trap set up by his father. His screams alert Danzer, who, thankfully, happens to be nearby. The forester scares the wolf away with his rifle and helps Lucas get his leg out of the trap. In the meantime, Abel reaches his birthplace and meets his brother Cain. He has now grown into a beast of a bird. There is still tension between the brothers. We see them hunting together and fighting for flesh. One day, Danzer tells the story of the brothers of the wind to Lucas. The story is similar to that of Cain and Abel. Lucas wants to know how the story ends, but Danzer claims that even after knowing the last page, they would still not know the outcome. On one of Danzer's expeditions, he sees the Eagle brothers at peace sharing a branch. Lucas, on the other hand, decides to leave his father and make his way to the other side of the mountain to live alone. He is in the old house about to leave when Keller finds him and asks him to light a match. A flashback shows us that Lucas's mother was killed in a fire that he accidentally created. When Keller lights the match, Lucas runs away and escapes into the mountains. Keller goes after his son, worried for his safety. A while later, Lucas is climbing a mountain when a rock slide showers upon him. He falls to the ground and is knocked out by lightning. Abel appears beside him and soars over him. After some minutes, Keller finds his son and apologizes to him for his ill treatment. Lucas speaks for the first time to his father and says Abel's name. As the two leave, we see a dead eagle lying under a rock nearby. It is now a few years later. Lucas and Keller have mended their relationship. They are climbing up the mountain in the snow, carrying wood to light a fire. Lucas says he feels Abel is still alive. It is revealed that he has still not accepted Abel's death and hopes he will be back someday. However, Keller doesn't share the view. He tells his son that the bird was the dead eagle on the rock slide. As he is trying to make Lucas understand that he must let go of false hope, something catches his attention. Keller suddenly stops talking and asks Lucas to stretch his arm. The boy is confused, but he does as told. To his surprise, Abel appears and perches on Lucas's arm. The eagle that died in the mountains turns out to be his brother Cain. Lucas is beyond delighted, but he knows that it is time for him to let go of his friend for good. He takes off the bracelet that he put on Abel's foot a long time ago and frees him. Moments later, Abel soars into the sky. In the last scene, Abel and a female eagle are in their nest waiting for the arrival of a new hatch. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help channel out. Thank you for watching.